So I'm extremely excited to be here this morning and to speak to you about a technology that my team has been developing along with our many collaborators here at MGB that senses oxygen. And this is different from many of the oxygen sensors that you may find in the clinic today. This senses the actual amount of oxygen that's dissolved and present in tissue at the location we're looking at. We've made it simple, we've made it lightweight, we made it small, and we've made it accurate. It's a platform technology with applications across healthcare. I don't really need to explain to this audience that oxygen is crucial for life. Without oxygen, cells and tissues die. Low oxygen, known as hypoxia, is underlining so many different pathologies and diseases. It's absolutely needed to measure oxygen and to monitor it accurately. A couple examples. In the ICU, oxygen is critical. We're constantly monitoring our patients, and we need to be able to monitor oxygen better. In the NICU, oxygen monitoring is absolutely critical. If it's too high, you can get awful outcomes. If it's too low, you can get equally awful outcomes. And so keeping it within that narrow band of acceptable oxygenation is critical for our youngest and most vulnerable patients. Oxygen underlines major diseases such as pressure ulcers and diabetic ulcers. Chronic wounds in these patients don't heal because of poor oxygenation as a major contributor. So understanding oxygenation in this context is of crucial importance. Surgery, plastic surgery, transplantations, flaps, movement of flaps, pedicle flaps, you need to monitor oxygen after these surgeries to make sure those flaps don't fail so you don't lose that tissue. And the technologies we have today are really not adequate in that area. So there's a need for PO2. That's the partial pressure of oxygen. That's how we chemists talk about oxygen concentration. We need to be able to monitor that non-disruptively, continuously, and quantitatively. This is a huge market. With even a low amount of penetrance, it's a $5 to $10 billion a year market across multiple areas in healthcare. The problem is that the current approaches we have don't actually provide this crucial information, and they're costly. So what we have in the clinic right now are indirect ways of getting at the information physicians need. We can monitor perfusion, that is the delivery of blood. So we can inject you with a dye and monitor how much blood goes to an area with a Novadax spy. We can use Doppler and Doppler imaging, but again, that's telling you blood, not oxygen. We can measure the oxygen in that blood. You can use the pulse ox. You can use near-infrared technologies like the Bioptic sensor on the bottom here. That will tell you how much oxygen is in the blood, and in the blood at the site you're interested, but not actually in the tissue itself. And that dysregulation that occurs in post-surgical inflammation and other diseases doesn't mean that you get the equilibrium to the tissue itself. Now there are tools, well, a few companies offer tools that actually will tell you what goes on, how much oxygen you have in a particular area of tissue. It is called TCPO2. These devices are both necessary and reviled by the physicians who use them. They're very challenging to use. They require extensive bedside calibration. You move and they miscalibrate. They're not well loved, and they can't actually go right in wounds. So there are tools, but we don't have what we really need. What my team has developed is a simple, easy to use, and practical oxygen sensors I'll talk about, and they're a fraction of the cost. The key innovation, I'm a chemist. We develop novel chemistry. This is a porphyrin molecule. It changes its brightness in response to oxygen. In fact, as oxygen goes down, it gets brighter. And the video on the side is just showing this molecule with a green dye. So if you're in air, the molecule doesn't glow and you see a nice green color. And as you deoxygenate, as you remove the oxygen, it turns bright red. It's instantaneous, it's reversible. You can do this over and over and over again, and it glows brightly and can be used for days. And you can see this with your eye, which is a big advantage. We've taken this and put it in a variety of different contexts for wounds, emergency medicine, post-surgical applications, and chronic wounds. We've developed bandages, dressings, films that you can see oxygen by eye, wearable sensors, integrated sensors. We can put these in other devices to use for feedback. This has been validated in multiple clinical studies. This is a breast reconstruction surgery, and that white dot is the near-infrared Bioptic sensor. Our sensor's there. You can't see it because it's a little transparent sticker, but if you turn a little blue light on, it glows. This patient has just come out of the operating room and the tissue is not yet well oxygenated, and it glows bright red, indicating the low oxidation, and it will change over time. This is highly correlated with the standard of care in this study, and we've now validated this in additional clinical studies. We've taken feedback from clinicians and incorporated these into small wearable devices that can literally displace TCPO2 today. It doesn't require calibration, no heating. It can be totally wireless and stand alone. There's no need for a base station, not some other $50,000 box it plugs into. It has hospital telemetry integration, and it works continuously. This device holding here costs us about $30 to make in my lab, and that compares to $1,000 a pop for the current Vioptics devices, which is a one-time use disposable. This is mature technology ready for commercialization. We have a strong IP portfolio of granted patents. It could go on a 510K equivalence pathway. There are existing predicate devices that you can do a non-inferiority study against. There are 5 existing CPT codes for use. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We, in setting this up, have developed strong commercial partnerships that can supply that sensor and sensor material. In fact, there's a company that's willing to do white labeling, finishing, and packaging for a startup that is formed. We have advanced prototypes and reference designs that are already clinically validated, and a strong network of MGB and Harvard clinicians and engineers that are ready for partnership. We are seeking partners to license, commercialize, or finance this technology, either through an established partner or through a new co. We're very open to different pathways, and there may be different pathways for different clinical focuses. Our goal is to raise $1 to $2 million to support initial fabrication, a non-inferiority study, and 510K approval. That's what we need to take it all the way through with patients to get into the clinic. We believe that plastic surgery is the ideal beachhead. Plastic surgeons are great early adopters. They love new technology, and they absolutely need this in the clinic today. It'll cut down OR time, it'll cut down costs, and it's a great path. Once approved, the same tool that we develop for plastic surgery can be applied in the ICU. It can be applied in the NICU. It can be applied in wound care. So that initial path through the FDA is a pathway to multiple other clinical applications, all of which can be using the same device. So again, we're very, very excited by this, and I'm hoping to have discussions with many of you later. Thank you so much.